Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, it's been a heck of a journey, as always. But I'm here. I made it to the seat. I got in the chair just in time to launch the portal today and hopefully reach out and entertain the hell out of you. So hope you guys are doing good. Thank you for joining me here on the show. I'm going to make adjustments. I was screwing around with things today, and as such, things are thoroughly screwed. I don't know. I'm doing all right here. As you may or may not know, if you joined us last night, you know that after the show, my night wasn't done. In fact, my night was just starting. So had a full day up to that point, had very little voice left. And I hope my voice is going to hold together today. I think we're okay so far. It's actually back better than it's been in a long time, which is good. But last night, about the end of the show, I was sounding like somebody was dragging me downstairs, like with that old crackling, dry, gravelly voice. That was me. And Sheldon was actually kind of memeing on me the whole way through. And it's like, oh, Dad, 10% voice, 8% voice. Little bastard. Anyway, Christmas is coming. That's all I got to say. But I got done with the show. I was plenty tired. But then I jumped in a car with Don. And Don and I drove down to a haunted bar about an hour away and met Charles there and ended up doing some paranormal investigating all night until about, I think, 3 this morning or 4, about 3:30 or 4-ish, right in there. And then we crashed. We got a couple air mattresses out and blew them up and laid them down on the haunted bar floor and slept. And it got all of about 2.5 hours of sleep, maybe 3, but I think more. Well, Don, I think, got closer to 3. I think I got about an hour and 45 minutes. But at any rate, got up this morning, drove home, and took a little bit of a nap. But I'm still running on fumes. So as you can see, then life happens, and here I am. Now, do you need to know that? No, but I'm kind of working towards your sympathy here. So in order to get to your sympathy, I got to explain the enormity of the situation. So I am pretty tired. I am probably less prepared for tonight's show than I wanted to be. Well, I'm usually less prepared than I want to be anyway. So that's kind of a normal thing. But you know, if it takes me a little longer to transition to things here, now you know why, because this is what I'm dealing with. So at any rate, hope you guys are doing good. Happy Saturday, and thank you so much for joining me, spending part of your precious weekend right here in my company. That's amazing. It's always a great pleasure to turn on the lights and to see you guys come in. Friday the 13th was bad, but Saturday the 14th is worse. Don't say that. Don't say that, David. You got to be Captain Sunshine here, man. I need all the sunshine I can handle. Don't jinx it here. I'm already being held together by baling twine and duct tape. So don't stress the joints any. But anyway, welcome everybody. As always, got a lot to get through. I do have a lot of things pulled up, and hopefully it'll be enough. One thing I have first to do is to reach out and just say, can you help? And that is because we're not doing the question of the week every night of the week anymore, which is it was always kind of stupid to call it question of the week and then ask 3 of them every week. But anyway, it was almost tongue in cheek. I didn't really know when I named it what it was going to be, but that's what it ended up being. So we did move back to one night a week, and it'll probably be on Friday or Saturday nights that we read the question of the week, the actual question. But on the other nights, I don't know if you're familiar with the show. If you've been with the show for a while, you might know, because a while back I used to do a segment called Trail Cam Terrors, and that's where I would highlight some footage, some clip that showed up, whether it was through a security system, caught some weird paranormal or strangeness, or a trail cam did, or somebody caught it somewhere. Could be a Ring doorbell, et cetera, et cetera. And I would feature them on the shows. But the tough part about that is that 90% of those out there look really hokey anyway, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time and go, oh yeah, is this really a goblin? And it's, it's not obviously a goblin. It's, probably some fat kid just after a candy tantrum. And, I'm not going to do that, but, I look for things that are kind of credible and, look like they may be interesting. Like we just can't tell. And so what I'm going to ask of you guys out there listening is that if you find something in your journeys through the internets and you think, oh, you know what, this might work out good on that segment, send it over to me. It's just hard for me to, wear all the hats and do all of the research. And if there's things like that, you guys can always pitch in and, and send them my way. I'd be more than happy to look at them and possibly include your submission as part of the show. So just put it out there, send it over to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. I would appreciate it. It could help me out a bunch, because I know all of you guys are probably a lot like me, and you're going through all these, the dark, shadowy places on the interwebs looking for this paranormal stuff anyway. So if you're finding something good or compelling, send it over, and we'll see if it could be featured on the Trail Cam Terrors. So just put it out there. I'd love your help. Anything you can do to make my life easier, of course, is welcome. All right. So obviously we got the news to get to, and then we're going to get to some more stuff here. That's kind of the part where I wasn't planned, because I didn't find anything for the Trail Cam Terrors. I was digging around for a little bit. I didn't find anything. I was like, oh, I should put this on. There was some stuff that I could have put up there. But again, I don't want to waste your time with things that I don't really think there's much to it. So unless it's a teaching moment and I can say, oh, look, guys, this is why, you got to look for these other factors, something like that. But I didn't find anything for the Trail Cam Terrors tonight. So we got kind of a void before we go into the cryptid corner. So we'll find something to fill it. I've got a lot of stuff, and maybe we'll do some UFO stuff, because we don't do enough of that on the show anyway. And I've got a bunch of articles pulled up and sites that have articles on them. We can probably find something pretty interesting to read through and check out. So anyway, that's enough of me gum running for a long time on the front end of the show. We'll see how my voice holds up tonight. Again, my voice is getting stronger every day, but it's still, as I said, I've been awake more than I've been asleep in the last 24 hours by a long shot. So we'll hope that it bears its weight through the show. And I guess the first thing to do, as always, now that I've run through the huge laundry list that I had up front, is to check out the news. So without further ado, let's get to the news, folks. It's time for the news. Which button is it? Which is the button again? Here we go. I found it. All right, it's the most trusted news, ladies and gentlemen. And I hopefully am your most trusted source, your most trusted host, or anchor, or whatever the hell you call it. But welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk as we dive into another few selections of paranormal news that I've found. And hopefully you'll be finding it interesting enough to continue to stay tuned to this show. All right, the first one up tonight is coming from a site that we use and love here on the portal all the time. And this site is called unexplained-mysteries.com. Please support this site. Please go visit them and see what they have over there. They have a ton of stuff. And even in articles we don't have time to read, I'll post them in the description, and many of you are checking them out. But if you look through their homepage, you're going to find tons of things that there's no way I could cover on the show. But there's so much interesting stuff here. And it's done really, really well done. So check it out again. Unexplained-mysteries.com is the website. So the first article up is kind of creepy, heading into Halloween. Maybe this is one of the biggest, costume choices of the year. But this is seems to be a real problem. And this is actually from October 14th of this year. Real life Pennywise taunts police in quiet Scottish village. Or is it this? Let's read and find out. And there's a picture there for those of you that are listening and watching on YouTube right now. It says a real life version of Stephen King's terrifying killer clown Pennywise has been leaving red balloons all around Skelmorlie. And is that a picture of it? Oh my God. That's just the kind of thing that you greet with a bat. It's probably just somebody being cheeky and funny, but not on my lawn. Hell no. All right. It seems that we can't get into Halloween season without some sort of creepy clown story cropping up, and this year is no exception. According to reports, a man dressed as Pennywise from Stephen King's horror masterpiece has been filming himself wandering around the streets of Skelmorlie in North Ayrshire, Scotland. Sorry, I'm trying to pronounce it right. Mom will send me a text message if I say Shire. Well, I've made the news again, he said in his most recent video. Should I smile for the cameras for my hideous grin? The police have been informed. Do you think that I care? That they'd have to catch me first anyway. And yes, that's a dare. They called me the killer clown. Why don't you leave the jokes to me? Yeah, that's not disturbing at all. The only thing that's dying is your credibility. If you come to visit, then you'll float too. This clown doesn't want fame, glory, or gold. He just wants to play in this so-called sleepy town. Now, that wasn't so poetic, was it? So come and join in and learn to fear the Skelmorlie clown. That's just kind of cheesy. His Facebook page, under the name of Cole Diramos, can be found here. I don't care. I don't care that much. While the clown hasn't technically committed any crimes, some local parents are concerned that he could be dangerous and are planning to keep their children in on Halloween. Oh, screw that guy. Just go out there with a bat. No, I'm sorry. That's probably really socially inappropriate of me, but it's like, really? You can let this clown make this idiot wreck your Halloween? Screw that. Someone needs to have a word with him before the police get involved, or he really terrifies someone. Said one local, he could give someone a heart attack. Yeah, well, that's possible, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of want to see, because I want to see how much makeup work here is, and then just how much bad genetics are at work in that frame there. Just look at that head. That's pretty bulbous. Where does it say? Right here? Let's take a look. I got to see his Facebook now. I actually am kind of curious. Yeah, there's that. There he is. It's kind of clickbaity anyway. So I don't know. I just want to see. Well. Just get to the reveal. All right, whatever. Oh, I don't know. It looks kind of rubbery, doesn't it? Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, that's the story. What would you do if you're dragging your kids around on trick or treat night and some idiot like this jumped out of the bushes and then scared the living hell out of your kids? Well, I don't know. That's a tough one. But anyway, I hope he's got good insurance. That's all. All right. That's the first article up on the News Fest tonight. So let's see what else I've curated for your benefit. Deimos is one of the moons of Mars. Oh, okay. There you go. I didn't know that. I probably would never have known that. Deimos. Okay. One of the moons of Mars. All right. Let's get to the next one. And I'm not being dismissive about that, Rachel. I really would never have known that. That's really cool. I think the name is cool. I just didn't know what it meant. Here's one. I don't know. This one's more sciencey, and I don't know. No, it's not real long, so we can read it. It says, but I don't know why this is news, because I think this has been kind of known for a long time. I don't think this is breaking news or even new news. I think this is old news, but just a new sample of it. But anyway, here it is. Building blocks of life found in OSIRIS-REx asteroid sample. And I think, is this the one that the Japanese kind of mined and sent back? It says the initial sample analysis of sample collect from asteroid Bennu has yielded some promising results. Back in September 2016, NASA sent a spacecraft, OSIRIS-REx, to rendezvous. What does it say? Rendezvous. Is that how you actually spell it? Or is it just without the dash? I don't know. But rendezvous with Bennu, a huge 500-meter wide asteroid with the potential to strike Earth sometime in the future. After arriving there in 2018, it spent over 2 years investigating the asteroid and collecting sample material before heading back home. Following a further 2-year journey through the solar system, it finally arrived back on Earth last month, much to the delight of NASA's science team. Now, at last, an initial analysis of the sample it collected has provided some preliminary results. Most notably, the material appears to contain water and large amounts of carbon, a prime indicator that Bennu may be carrying the building blocks of life. Well, there you go. It's long been theorized that asteroids and comets may have played a key role in delivering the necessary materials needed for life to develop on Earth. Billions of years in the past, the OSIRIS-REx sample is the biggest carbon-rich asteroid sample ever delivered to Earth and will help scientists investigate the origins of life on our own planet for generations to come, said NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. Almost everything we do at NASA seeks to answer questions about who we are and where we come from, and NASA missions like OSIRIS-REx will improve our understanding of asteroids that could threaten the Earth while giving us a glimpse into what lies beyond. The samples made it way back to Earth, but there's still so much science to come, science like we've never seen before. Was that written by President Trump, or what was that? It's got science. This is science like nobody's ever seen before. I don't do a Trump impression, so that's as good as I could do. But this sounds, oddly enough, this little news brief sounds like a funding pitch, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, this is what we're doing. This is why it's so important. Give us money. I don't know. It seems like they're really hitting the donation track or trail right now or something. Anyway, it doesn't seem like they really said much. Like, hey, we found carbon, lots of it. Who would have thought that? Well, we kind of already thought it, but we found it, and we're going to find a lot more stuff. Just keep sending us up there. We'll keep delivering results. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Don't have to convince me. I'm not the guy writing the checks. I mean, not directly anyway. So there you go. Cyrus-Rex, successful mission. And then that's cool. I think that stuff is fun. Interesting and all that, but yeah, there you go. They found carbon. They thought they would, and they did. This one's kind of an update. The next article is kind of an update to a story that we've been following. I don't think the actual article is, but I wanted to deliver an update that I became aware of because this came up, of course, in the, was it the last show? Not the last show, but the show before. But it was when we covered the Bigfoot sighting off of that train in Colorado. And this is the article from unexplained-mysteries.com regarding that video. And it's interesting a lot, but this one does look a little more zoomed in. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but let's just look at the video here, which is fine. Let's turn off the sound because we're just more curious about the actual footage. Yeah, it's still very far away. And I think even this was zoomed in because by the looks of where it was filmed from, this would have been very zoomed in already. But now they're zooming in to see a muscular build. Now, here's the takeaway. Some people are really on board with this, and some people are really not on board with it. Apparently, though, a statement was released from the BFRO, which states that, no, this is a suit. It's not real. It's one of those Jack Link suits that you can find online. They're available everywhere, and it's for, a few $100s or whatever. So they're not extraordinarily expensive, and people are buying them and then putting out videos like this. So could it be? Yeah, I mean, it could be. Again, if you watch the show when we first unveiled this, there's elements about this that I have a problem with. One is the stride, the way it takes its step. The other is, why did it stop there right in the wide open? To me is very curious. Now, it could be legitimate, but it very well couldn't be. But I don't know if this image is enough to say, hey, that's a Jack Link's, or what is the messing with Sasquatch thing? Yeah, I think that's actually a clip of one of those commercials or one of those suits. But I don't know. I don't know if that image is enough to say, yes, that is definitely one of those costumes. It may very well be, but it may not be as well. I think even Ronnie LeBlanc had posted a picture on his Facebook of a close-up because somebody was saying, oh, you can see he's wearing sunglasses. And he had found this close-up image that shows part of the face, and it's not sunglasses. It's just deep shadows from the brow ridge. And so, I don't know. Again, people are going to go back and forth on this. I just don't think there's enough to really gauge either way. But if somebody comes forward and goes, no, that was me. I was up there, playing a prank. I just thought it was funny. Okay, well, then I guess we'll know. But other than that, I don't know. It is a peculiar clip. There isn't a lot to go on it. And is it really a pivotal clip in the whole Bigfoot research? No, it's incidental at best. And it's barely anecdotal, to be honest with you. People on a train saw one, and it was way far away on a mountainside. But we've zoomed it in so you can see this, and that's it. It doesn't teach us about it. It doesn't give us any insights into the behavior or habits of these things. It just was walking and then stopped and squatted down. So it's not going to be a key moment in the whole quest for Sasquatch anyway. But people's opinions are on the line, and their reputations maybe in their minds. So they're going to battle it out as hard as they can. And good luck to them. I don't really care either way. I mean, it's just another drop in the bucket of a lot of buckets and a lot of drops. So that's a little bit of the update. I wanted to tell you about the BFRO update that they believe their official statement is it's one of those messing with Sasquatch suits that you can buy online. And it might be, I don't know. I don't have, again, I don't have a dog in the race or a horse in the race or a dog in the fight or whatever the hell the saying is. But just wanted to show you guys that that's some continuing developments on that same story. And who knows? Maybe it is. But even if it is, it's still, again, the clip is barely anecdotal. It's just there. It's just some Sasquatch walking a few steps on the side of a hill and then squatting down. So it's not going to ever be a huge part of a body of evidence that proves that they're out there. It's just a really ambiguous clip. Oh, man. I do notice I dry out so quick, but I think that's because of the mucusy medicines, like Mucinex. Oh, I wanted to show you guys this. This actually cracked me up. It's kind of I thought it really is kind of an insight into advertising. I thought this is so dumb, but it's one of those things we're so conditioned to look for value in our packaging and stuff. And it's really kind of cheesy. But this is the pack of Mucinex I bought. This is it. And I don't know if you can see. Let me get this up on the screen so I can see. This is kind of newsy, so that's why I'm telling you. There it is. Mucinex. It says 100% more. I was like, wow. And that initially drew my eyes. Now, I was more interested in the fact that it said 40 down here because I'm like, yeah, I might be taking these for a while. I don't want to have to keep coming back and getting little like 12 packs or 24 packs. So I'm going to buy a 40 pack. And I was like, okay. But I only bought it because of the number down here, not because of this up here, this 100% more. But what I noticed is there's a little finer print next to that. It says 100% more, big orange bar on there. And it says, than our 20 count. It says 100% more than our 20 count. It doesn't, and what you're expecting to see there is 100% more than our competitor or 100% more of the, name brand or whatever. I don't know. But it just says 100% more than our 20 count. Yeah, because there's 40 in here and that's math. You dumb son. Just like, what? 100% more. Yeah, it is. 40 is 100% more than 20. Yeah, great job. That's marketing right there, folks. That's what marketing is. It's absolutely psychology. But I thought that was hilarious. It's like 100% more than our 20 count. Yeah. Good job on your, second grade math. Fantastic. That cracked me up. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I just thought, God, that's so dumb. But, people see 100% more, they'd be like, oh, that's going home. And they think they got a 100% better deal than we would have gotten. But it's just 100% more than 20. Is that just me or is that funny? I don't know. I think it's hilarious. I think I'm the only one really enjoying that, though, huh? Oh, okay. Okay, John says that's funny. I don't like doing math, Barbara says. All right. Well, I just thought it was hilarious because it's like, yeah, then our 20 count. It's like, oh, you dumb SOBs. All right. That is hilarious. Okay. Well, thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. Okay. I just thought it was humorous as hell. It's like 100% more than our 20 pack. It's like, yes, it is. Good job. Anyway, speaking of more, I need more because I'm still getting through the mucus fun of this virus or whatever the hell it is. Mucinex. Mom, that just proves I'm taking Mucinex. Every time I get sick, Mom says, Mucinex, Mucinex, Mucinex. All right. So not only have I displayed the humor in their advertising, but I placated Portal Mom. All right. So I think, yeah, the crackle, that's my salute to all the haters when I take drinks of bottles on the show. I sometimes get comments, very rarely, but the comments like, oh, it's so or amateurish. Why don't you like grab a glass or something? You're just snapping your bottle. It's annoying as hell. So it's like, oh, yeah, the last thing you should do is tell me what annoys you. Because I go instant toddler at that point. It's like, well, that annoys you? Check this out, It's very counterintuitive with me. Don't tell me what annoys you, because that's not going to work out well for you. Anyway, that's going to conclude the news just because I'm ready to move on. I hope you are too. So let's get back to the rest of the show and see what else the hell we're going to do in the next segment. I don't even know. We're going to wing it. All right, folks, we are back at the rest of the show, and I'm going to sort out what we're going to do here. There's a couple things I was thinking of, but then I was like, I don't know. We're just going to wing it because, again, if you missed the intro to the show, I'm already working on just over fumes right now. So I got these. You know, there's one thing we don't do enough of on this show, and I think that is the UFO alien stuff. And of course, it's a huge topic for all of us in the paranormal. And with the disclosures and stuff, or the soft disclosures that have been going on and the increased public interest in the UFO phenomena, it's certainly a question that we're all kind of wondering about and want to understand a little better. Let's see. This one's... I'm just looking through. I'm looking at a site called howandwhys.com. It's a really cool site. They have just a ton of fantastic historical UFO reports on there and articles dealing with historical UFO situations. So, okay. I think I might have already read that, though. I might be going the wrong way here. Sorry. Let me get back to the bottom and do it the other way, because I'm trying to find something. Oh, this one looks good. So I don't know that this is probably still the case, but it seems like, at least in the history of our country, of the U.S., there is the idea that maybe some of the earlier government officials in elected positions or placed positions probably had more of an understanding or knowledge of some of the secret stuff than currently is the case. I think that probably now more than ever, a lot of UFO stuff is way more compartmentalized, with very few people having direct knowledge of any one thing. They just have little pieces of knowledge floating around, and it's very, very intentionally done in a manner of controlling the narrative and controlling the information that could be shared, because it's so focused. Each person that has an awareness is so focused on one part of this huge puzzle that they couldn't possibly, break it all open and share it with the world at large, because, they may be working on a specific, a transistor that they're presented with, or something like that. Like, I think it's really like that compartmentalized. And who's going to care that isn't an electrical engineer? Probably nobody. But I think that that's kind of the approach that they use. But I think back in the day, there was more of a knowledge within the intelligence communities, at least, about this stuff. So this article is from howandwhys.com. And this is by Vicky Verma, who is pretty exceptional writer and has been at this for a long time, and at Hows and Whys, or howandwhys.com. I should make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. But this was last updated in 2021, April 5th, 2021. So let's check this out. Let me do this. There it goes. Okay, I'm going to probably move my picture so I'm not dragging through the bottom of the thing. There, I think it should be okay up there. Okay. We'll put me there for now. But this is, again, from Vicky Verma 3 years ago. And I'd love to give you my thoughts, but I haven't read the damn thing yet. So let's read it first. It says former U.S. Secretary of State showed his cousin 4 aliens in a jar under the Capitol building. I'll bet you they're not still there if they were. I'm betting they moved them after this. It says it's not the first time when someone in power shares the story where he or she either encountered UFO or was abducted by aliens. The Roswell UFO crash started a lot of alien conspiracies, but do you know that many years before that incident, dead alien bodies had been stored in a container in the basement of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.? I can honestly say I did not know that. Never even heard of that before. So this story first came into the limelight in 2002 when William Jones, a director of the Ohio branch of MUFON, received an interesting letter from a woman named Lucille Andrew, the daughter of Reverend Turner Hamilton Holt. And the letter held the top secret information told by Holt to his daughter about one of his meetings with his cousin Cordell Hull, who had been U.S. Secretary of the State from 1933 to 1944, and was also elected as senator from 1931 to 1937. He had also received the Nobel Peace Prize and was one of the people who established the United Nations. Wow, sounds like a very accomplished individual. The letter contained the information that Hull would never want to come out until he was alive. I think until he wasn't alive. But at the same time, he could not stop himself sharing it with his cousin Holt, who served at the Shenandoah Christian Church in Greenwich, Ohio. It says, according to the letter, one day when Holt was in Washington, D.C., he was contacted by Hull, who wanted to show him something extremely secret and asked him to never disclose it to anybody. So what did he do? He wrote it in a letter. Holt agreed, and Hull took him to a place under the Capitol building where he showed him an amazing sight. There is no exact information about the time frame of this secret, but Hull served under the presidency of Franklin Delano Roosevelt until his resignation in 1944. It was a huge room with 4 glass containers. In each container, there were bodies of dead humanoids in a special liquid, presumably formaldehyde, about which Holt and Hull had no idea. According to the description of their body structure, they were clearly not humans. Also, there was a wrecked round craft in the adjoining room. Oh, I don't know if that's an actual photo, but it says unknown creature in a jar, image courtesy, credit, mysterious universe. Okay. My father wanted my sister and I to make this information known long after he and Cordell were dead because he felt it was a very important bit of information, Lucille wrote. We have researched your group, MUFON, and we feel it is the best, most reliable group in the country. We hope that you will research and search this information. The jars with creatures in formaldehyde and the wrecked craft are somewhere. Cordell said they were afraid that they would start a panic if the public ever found out. Sincerely, Lucille Andrew, Ashland, Ohio. The letter said that the incident happened in 1939, years before the stories of UFOs and alien encounters hit the newspapers. There's no doubt that Cordell Hull was one of the greatest politicians in U.S. history, and according to his credibility, it is difficult not to believe his story. Holt married a woman named Vina Mae Clark, and they both had 3 daughters. 2 daughters claimed that Holt had told them about the creatures, but he never said from where they came from. He said the color of this material wasn't a color that he had seen before, but for the lack of a better word, he used silver. Reverend Holt was not the sort of person to make up such a wild story, and the sisters feel that by telling the story, they are following their father's wishes. Wow, that's pretty incredible. Below is the video where the 2 sisters from Ohio tell the story of how their father was taken to the sub-basement of the Capitol and shown what appears to have been alien bodies, and a craft. I'm going to put this link in the chat if you guys want to check it out. Watch the video that accompanies this as well. I don't know whose channel it is, but yeah, I think that's a great accompanying piece to hear it right from their mouths. At least that gets you closer to the source of the information. Barbara A. Wolanin, the curator of U.S. Capitol building, said she had never heard about these creatures being stored in the Capitol, but she did confirm there was a sub-basement, and that was divided into storage rooms back then. When Hull left his job, he wrote his memoirs, but there is no mentioning of this story in his papers in the Library of Congress. Maybe we'll never know the truth of this event, but there are lots of conspiracies about the strongest people in the U.S. history and their links with the aliens. Perhaps the most interesting and confirmed set in the high position is the case of contact between U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower and the extraterrestrials. Yeah, that would be the Greada Accord. And Eisenhower apparently met with some gray aliens down in Dulce or over in Area 51 somewhere. And it was really this incredible story of him apparently making some kind of agreement for technology in exchange for letting these beings or giving them impunity to research people. I don't know. Again, it's a hell of a story. I couldn't even weigh in on it with an opinion because, I don't have any idea. But it's a strange story. But it says these meetings are confirmed by the statements of Philip Schneider, a civil engineer. Phil Schneider, yeah, he's a great character. And his it's probably still out there on YouTube if you'll dig for it. But Phil Schneider did some talks, and he was a civil engineer, and he was also apparently involved in how do I say this? In the government's research into underground bases and came into contact with aliens, was involved personally in a shootout with some tall gray aliens as they were storming an underground base that they found. He was there as an engineer, but he was with Special Forces Green Beret types, and one of them saved his life by jumping in front of him as a gray alien discharged this weapon that let out a weird light, and it still ended up like tearing Phil's chest out open, and then taking part of his hand with it. And that was after it eviscerated the Green Beret that was trying to shield him. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy stuff. This is a hell of a rabbit hole if you want to go down it, but very, very interesting. And Phil Schneider apparently, allegedly, the burden of life just became too much after he, had had a semi-aggressive career in doing seminars on this. He apparently decided life was too much and couldn't go on, if you catch my meaning. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's really kind of spooky stuff. But anyway, yeah, if you haven't heard of Phil Schneider or looked into his story, that's a strange place to look into. However, it says a civil engineer, a geologist. Partial information was also provided by Gerald Light, head of the research fund. Sometimes UFO enthusiasts also link the death of John F. Kennedy with UFOs. On the other hand, there are those that deny such stories and call them fake or fantasy. So, again, you be the judge. Was there some government representative, Secretary of State, who needed, I can understand if you were sitting on top of some of the most revolutionary information in the entire history of mankind, but you were not allowed to share it. Wouldn't there be a part of you to be like, God, who can I tell and not get screwed by this? And you're like, oh yeah, this minister relative of mine, perfect, because you think, well, this is a moral person. They're not going to share it. And then I can, just tell somebody just to get it off my chest, and then it's over. But the religious relative decided to share it, apparently. Which, I don't know, I think that's kind of creepy too. I don't know, what would you think? But anyway, what a story. Do you think they just stored some of this stuff back in those early days right below the Capitol? Like, well, it's a safe place and we can look at it here. Maybe? I don't know. It's a big question mark for me. You have to let me know what you guys think. If you think that's plausible or do you think that's probably a lot of bunk? Love to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? Come on, tell me in chat. What do you think? Is this a true story? Do you believe it? Don't have a lot to go on other than the claims of these two daughters, but they took it to our leader. Maybe. They might have. Just got to keep the. Probably true. Maggie says. Barbara says, yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I think it's possible. Wizard Moon says, I can believe it. Okay. I'm always curious because, I read stuff to you guys and I was like, I'm always wondering, well, what do you guys think? I wish, I guess we could do it easy. Just like, if you believe it, put a 1 in chat. They do that a lot of streaming sites like Twitch. 1 in chat if you believe this story. Let people just kind of vote. You have to let me know, though, if you haven't already. Not sure. Karen says, seems true. Yeah, Rachel. Everything is possible, John says. Very good. I think it is. Wizard Moon says 1 again. Yeah. I think there's possibility to it because if you think about it, I think a lot of people were incredibly, well, I mean, maybe we're still incredibly naive now, but like to think with the passage of time, we've become maybe a little more sophisticated in our understandings, at least of the world around us. Like we have more insight now than we've ever had in our history of knowing how our place in the universe and what all this stuff can mean. One of the things that I was really refreshed by, honestly, was the old saying that, we gotta keep this stuff under wraps, but we're doing it for you guys because, if word got out that there were aliens, there'd be bedlam and pandemonium everywhere. People couldn't handle that. And then the Tic Tac stuff came out. People handled it just fine. I think people are much more resilient than they're given credit for. People were like, yeah, well, I figured. I don't think it was as revolutionary as people were expecting it to be. People were just, yeah, I think it's possible. I think that's probably the number of people that believe in this stuff is probably much higher than many will admit. I think if you look up at the stars, you can't think that all that space was just for us to look at. Like, it's all just there for us to admire from our campfires. No. That's a whole lot of universe just for mood lighting. I don't know. It's an interesting take, though. I don't pretend to have any kind of authoritative position on it, but I think it's kind of fascinating. Let's get to maybe another one of these. Let's see if we can find another one that might be interesting to go through. I think these are fascinating. They really are. It's just some of these claims are so absolutely so far out there. And maybe they're not. It's just like they seem to be. Just because of the perspective that I have. That's interesting. I don't know. Some of them are crazy articles, though. Okay. Here's a case that apparently happened to a Brazilian man, and it was before Travis Walton's experience, but let's see what's going on here. Travis Walton's case is largely hailed as one of the big cases that maybe encourage people to take the whole abduction scenario more seriously. I think Betty and Barney Hill are probably the biggest figures in that. The first recorded that I'm aware of that were actually pretty aggressively investigated and looked into. There's a lot of claims out there, but I don't think they were certainly the first, but just their situation and the fact that they did have some physical evidence to substantiate the claims for Betty and Barney Hill, I think is very powerful. But here's another one from House and Wise, again, Vicky Verma. And I don't know if he's the one that actually writes all these things or if he's just kind of the editor and slaps his name on them or what. But If so, he's another busy, busy person. But anyway, let's check this one out. This is Brazilian man Onilson Patero's two bizarre UFO encounters happened before Walton's case. All right, here you go. In the world of ufology, the most famous UFO incident happened with Travis Walton in Arizona in 1975. The case took place in the United States of America, so it got worldwide attention. Do you know that a similar incident shocked UFO hunters when a Brazilian bookseller, Onilson Patero, claimed to have been abducted twice after encountering a UFO, and it happened before Walton's case? I guess that's the guy right there, I assume. It was the night of May 21st, 1973, and Onilson Patero was heading back to his home after work in his blue Opel from Osvaldo Cruz to Catanduva, situated in the Brazilian state of São Paulo. Patero was very tired, and he switched on the radio and heard the sports news running, reporting about the upcoming World Cup. And as he was driving over the Salto de, man, these words are big, Handava, Adan Havan, God, that sounds like Avada Kedavra. I keep thinking Harry Potter as I'm reading this damn word. Avan Handava Bridge. Sorry about that. I expect something to drop dead after I finish saying it. 150 kilometers from his destination, he stumbled upon a hitchhiker. Well, he turned off his radio and drove closer and wondered if the young man needed any help. The young man's name was Alex, and he was not carrying any luggage. Well, Patero offered him a cigarette, but he refused, saying that while traveling, he does not smoke, but had a metal case that looked similar to a cigarette box. Later, he described Alex as about 1.75 meters tall. I don't know what that is. Maybe is that about 5 feet? With yellow trimmed hair. I got to look that up now. What is 1.75 meters to feet? So yeah, 5'7", I guess. So he's, average size, I guess. Okay. So he's about 5'7", 5.5 feet, something like that. With yellow trimmed hair, round face, and big blue eyes. Patero took the man with him, lit his cigarette, and resumed the journey to Catanduva. And they both had a friendly conversation, exchanged words about their work, and Patero told them where he lived. Initially, Alex's destination was Catanduva, but when they entered the town somewhere on the Washington-Louis Highway, he said that his actual destination was Itajobi. Patero decided to drop him off at his destination because of the rain and due to the late time, as Alex would not find any transportation. So Patero left him at the central square, and Alex said to him that he would visit him in the following days, reciting Patero's address correctly. It was already 3 a.m., and Patero started his car and continued his remaining journey. He was only 7 kilometers away from the destination when the strangeness began. First, his radio caught some interference, and then his car's engine failed and slowed down its speed. While he was figuring out the situation, a beam of light hit his car's dashboard, moving from left to right, and when the light passed through the panel, it made transparent everything that came into contact. Wow, so it was actually allowing them to see through stuff. Terrified, Patero could see his car's engine running, the camshaft, the crankshaft, and he wondered what was going on. He tried to find the source of the light, but the heavy rain and dark night could not let him. Soon, an intense blue, sharp, and straight line of light blinded him, which he thought was coming from some sort of vehicle. The intensity of the light was so strong that he had to stop his car in fear of a collision. He noticed the electrical system of the car was unresponsive and the light was getting brighter and brighter, so he took off his glasses, but put them on a dashboard and covered his eyes with his hands. He was ready for the impact and stood motionless for a minute, but nothing happened. He lowered his hands and saw an object hovering in the air around 20 meters away from him. Patero wondered if that was a helicopter, but it was not any man-made thing. It had a particular or circular shape and was quite big in size. He sat in his car for a while and decided to open the door. He put his right leg on the ground and could feel the energy coming out of that object. Shortly after it, a cylindrical object emerged out of that circular thing and landed on the road. As the cylinder began approaching Patero, he got frightened and decided to run away on foot in Cantadiva's direction. He only ran about 30 meters when something stopped him. He turned around and found that his whole car was transparent, like glass, and this thing was standing near it. He was taken into an alien craft and then lost consciousness. Around 5 a.m., two passers-by informed the police about the blue opal and a man lying down next to it. Policeman Clovis Quiros, who was near to that place, decided to check the case. He found Patero still lying unconscious on the ground, so he decided to wake him up. Patero got up in fear because he was still in shock when Quiros was asking him what had happened. He said, "They want to catch me," and explained to the policeman everything. Quiros thought that Patero was suffering from some kind of mental trauma and needed urgent treatment. He was taken to the hospital in Cantanduva, underwent a series of tests, including mental health. Strange greenish spots were on his stomach, and his wife noticed that his hair turned black only 3 days after she took him home. His hair again turned to its natural state of light brown color. Wow. What's the arrow? I don't read whatever this is. Is that Portuguese or something? But yeah. Wow. That's an arrow pointing at something. Second time he claimed to have been abducted by extraterrestrials happened on April 28th, the following year. In the vicinity of Gauranta, and this is northwest of São Paulo. This episode got a lot more media attention at the time as Patero disappeared for 6 days. So what are you thinking? Do you think that guy he picked up was actually an alien? Is that what it was going on? And they were like, let's check this guy out. He actually brought me for a ride. It's like, don't pick up hitchhikers. He was found disoriented by a farmer on a hill in Colatina Espírito Santo, more than 1,000 kilometers away from where he was captured. In this case, Patero was also driving when he noticed the same lights like in the first time. On the second occasion, however, he has more memories of his trip to the supposed extraterrestrial spaceship. And he said he had met Alex, there you go, the mysterious hitchhiker, in the ship, and also said that he had been examined by some hooded men. Ooh, creepy. And he said Alex explained to Patero that he had come to Earth to remove certain material from the planet that could be dangerous if humans get it, and it was fatal for UFOs of non-warfaring species who visited Earth. Patero's story reached investigators at the Department of Political and Social Order, or DOPS, Max Berezovsky and Willie Wirtz, who asked for an analysis of his report. According to testimonies of October 1974, Berezovsky considered Patero's account of his first encounter with a flying saucer to be true, but felt that the second one was false. Oh, that's a little harsh. Wirtz, on the other hand, considers Patero's 2 encounters with flying saucers to be false. Despite the conclusions of this official investigation conducted by the Brazilian government, the fact is that the incidents reported by Patero still remain as one of the most exciting and mysterious cases for those who research and are passionate about ufology. Well, there you go. There's lots of references and stuff as well. I don't know. I'd never heard of any of this. It's interesting. What could be here that would be lethal to visiting aliens? Don't know. Maybe that's gold. That's the con job. Yeah, we got to get rid of the shiny gold stuff. It's lethal to aliens that are going to come visit. So you got to help me load it on my craft and we'll get it out of here. Maybe that's how it's done. I heard a legendary story. I don't know if it's true or not. I suspect it was because the source of it was a history teacher that was talking about when I was in high school. He's talking about when, I don't know, the Mayans or the Incas met the conquistadors. And they'd never seen horses before. But if you know about the conquistadors and stuff, they had these horses that were also decked out in armor, and so they looked like these godlike creatures. And the natives were absolutely terrified of them. They're like, oh my God, they had never seen anything like this before, and they were absolutely terrified and fear struck. And they asked the conquistadors, like, well, what do they eat? And the conquistadors told them, gold. They need gold or they'll go crazy. And we can't stop them. They'll eat everything. They'll just destroy everything. And so they were so terrified. They went and grabbed all the gold they could and brought it out to feed to the horses. It's like, oh no. Oh. I don't know if there's a hell, but if there is, whoever said that horses eat gold is probably going there. That's a horrible deceit. But it's clever, but horrible. Anyway, that's pretty interesting. So I don't know what you think about this. Again, I have no doubt in my mind that abductions happen. I can't pretend to understand why they happen or what they stand to learn that they couldn't learn just by sitting back and reading some DMs and emails and stuff. I don't know unless there's got to be some biological function that they're monitoring, and maybe that's why they have these sample groups that they continue to visit just to see how this biological functioning is handling generational transitions. I don't know. There's something about it that I guess they feel like they have to be in contact, very, very direct physical contact in order to monitor. But I keep thinking, these cultures could be, 1,000,000 years ahead of us, 1,000 years ahead of us. I mean, you kind of think of like Star Trek, where it's like they could sit in orbit and like scan somebody's, pelvis for cervical cancer, for God's sakes. It's like, what? Can't you just do that from your ship? Just hit a button or something, I don't know. Seems to me they should have gotten that far, but apparently they didn't. But food for thought, folks, food for thought. Interesting all the same. I hope you guys enjoyed those articles. Again, we don't do enough researching into the UFO phenomena, but I think it's a very huge part of what we're doing in the, and what is this unknown stuff. Again, I keep beating my own horn, but it's honestly something I'd looked for my whole life and finally saw it. And that to me was the pinnacle moment. I was absolutely, what's going on? Are we having connection issues? Uh-oh. What happened? Something's going on. Is this working? I don't know what's going on. Get back to this. Have a look-see. Dismiss. I mean, it looks like it's working. Anybody there? Can you let me know in the chat? It's just winding. So we're not able to save my video. Well, that's very strange. Connect to chats. Please try again later. Seems there's an issue, folks. I don't know what it is for sure, but hopefully it comes back. Very, very strange. Anybody there? Can you hear me? If you can, please let me know. I'm just looking. I've got green connection here on my production software, but YouTube looks like it's absolutely pooped the bed. Aggravated progressive. If I see a horse with gold teeth, I'll know what happened. Got the grills. Got to get the grills. Very strange. Let's see. I will look at Discord here and see if anybody's got anything sorted out. Not sure what's going on. Did the stream drop? Did the stream fail? This is exactly what I need when I'm running on fumes. Nothing like some technical problems to get things moving. You can see me. Okay, Maggie says they can see me. Okay. All right. I cannot. I got no feedback from the chat at all. So it's very strange. It's like the chat died, of all things. Are you able to type? Your stream is still live. Good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Maggie. That's why I love the Discord, ladies and gentlemen. If you would get involved in the Discord, it's just like a continuation of the YouTube chat, and you can join it. Just look at the link that's in the... Okay, Barbara's hearing me too. Good. Okay. Well, I appreciate that, guys, because, yeah, everything's dead on my end. I was just about to just fold it up and go to bed. Like, well, can't do nothing more. Good night. Good. I'm glad you guys are seeing and hearing me. Good. Okay. Very strange. This chat, always the best. Okay, well, it looks like it's working on the... It's working on the embedded chat, though. That's weird. Very strange. Excuse me. Not sure why the other chat isn't. I mean, I can see you guys chatting there. Let's see if you can see me. Is my chat working? Because the one that's embedded on the actual stream itself is working fine. I just want to see if my own chat will pop up on the window, or if I got forced out. You start talking about UFOs, and look what happens. Huh. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be, my own chat doesn't even seem to be going there. I wonder if I can refresh this, and let me close this chat and see if I can reopen it. If we'll get a better version of this somehow. Let's try this first. Pop out chat. Site can't be reached. Really? Must have launched a new one. Okay, I'll just refresh the broadcast page and see what's going on. Reload, please. That's weird. My studio's actually down, but okay. Well, that kind of takes me out of the ability to see the chat, at least aggressively. I could try blowing up this window enough that I could actually see it, but yeah, it's not giving me any. Looks like YouTube Studio kind of pooped the bed. The chat is still functioning, but not from the studio. So I'll just make this full screen and we'll just roll with it. And we'll continue looking at some articles here, because we're going to dive into some cryptids and see what we can get into here. We're going to go to Sasquatch Chronicles blog for the Cryptid Corner, and we'll go through the Cryptid Corner for the rest of the show, because that's what I got for you. Yeah, even the well, that's strange. Even the phone lines died. Did my Skype fold up or something? No, that looks good. Okay. I don't know. This is very strange. Very strange connectivity night, because I got two things that have failed. The YouTube chat has failed for me, not for you guys, which is great. But also the phone lines. Oh, they're back now. Okay, the phone lines just popped back up. So we got that going for us. Okay. I realized I never did launch the ghost box. Let's do that. What is it? October 14th, right? Right day after the October 13th, which is Friday the 13th. We had a good show last night with Naysay, by the way. If you didn't check that out, please do. That was a lot of fun. I wonder if I can chat in here. I cannot. I can click on it, but I can't chat in there. Okay. All right. So we're just going to keep going. We got the Sasquatch Chronicles blog coming up next. Special thanks to Mr. Wes Germer for making this available to us. I can see you guys still typing there. Ghost in the machines, Brent. Yeah, you're right, Chucky. Absolutely. Your typing didn't come through. Yeah, I'm just looking at. So I can see Discord, but I can also see on the screen the chat moving on my production software. So that chat is still functioning fine, but it looks like the stream itself, the server end or the developer end, is all screwed up now for some reason. So I don't know what's going on. Unless I got canceled somehow. And I just haven't got the email yet, or they didn't kill my stream completely. They just took me out of the running. Let me tell you, if I ever do get canceled for whatever reason, because I think right now it can be plenty arbitrary. You don't have to really need a reason. They just have to need to want you to not be on the platform anymore. YouTube is very volatile for creators. And if you ever don't find me or my channel, then go to rumble.com. I promise you the shows will continue. But, I did make up a backup site over on rumble.com just because, I don't know, I've seen people that lose their channels. Years of work, and I can relate to that I've been at this for years. And, developing in the community, the people, developing the material. And I've been at this for a long, long time. And if somebody just flipped a switch, it would break my heart. Be like, oh my God, it's just gone. So I've built a YouTube or a Rumble site for the Paranormal Portal. And now, before anybody gets all sensitive about that, let me just tell you, look, this isn't a political move at all. I don't talk politics on this show ever. I respect that everybody has the ability to make choices, and you all are adults, and you have reasons for believing what you want to believe, and it's not my place to sit and cast judgment on that. I just love you all, and I want you to be happy. So Rumble is just an up-and-coming platform. It's doing wonderful, and they are pretty much not directly involved with micromanaging the creators. They're letting them do their thing. And for me, that's the perfect situation because, I don't know. We talk about the paranormal, and that's all we talk about on the show. So the fact that it may be hosted on a site that a lot of people equate to conservatism, believe what you want to believe. But this show will always be this show that you've loved, no matter where it is. And so don't let a website make you think it's one thing or another, because it's not. This show will always just be about the paranormal. But anyway, SasquatchChronicles.com is a great site. I hope you guys support it. My good friend Wes Germer runs this site, and obviously you all know Wes and Sasquatch Chronicles. You know what, though? Honestly, I was very surprised. I was actually very honored, because in talking to some of you, as we did on the show recently, some of you had heard about Sasquatch Chronicles because you found the Paranormal Portal. And that's what introduced you to Sasquatch Chronicles. So that really felt good, because I always thought, well, that's kind of a one-way thing. Everybody's heard of Sasquatch Chronicles. So I would like to say that I'm trying to help bring interest to West's show, but oftentimes I was like, well, I'm just kind of fooling myself. Everybody knows Sasquatch Chronicles. But several of you have said that you found Sasquatch Chronicles because you managed to stumble on the Paranormal Portal. And that to me feels great. So please support what Wes is doing. You won't find anyone that does it better in this space and does a better show or puts on a more quality entertainment and does it phenomenally. So he's also got the blog, which is SasquatchChronicles.com. And you can check out the blog because all kinds of things are hosted over there that will never reach his podcast, but it's just because the man couldn't possibly make a podcast for everything he receives, because he would have to do several shows a day, and nobody can do that. All right, let's check it out. Sasquatch Chronicles blog, and this is the only one that I've got pulled open from the blog for tonight's show, but it's October 4th, 1971, Westville, Texas encounter. It says, a listener writes, I was 11 years old and had never even heard of Bigfoot. On the morning of this encounter, I was in a deer stand, sitting, my back against a small oak, my legs stretched out in front of me. God, did I already read this one? I think I might have, but you're going to hear it again. God, I did, didn't I? Anyway, we're reading it again because, it's so good you got to read it twice. I was armed with a single-shot 410 shotgun. I did this when Don was on. I can't even read it. I'm such an idiot. Sorry, guys. I thought this was one that was still open, but
Bedroom.
bedroom. Yeah, thanks. That's probably where I need to be. Thank you very much, spirits from the spirit box. I should probably be in the bedroom instead of trying to do a show, but I love doing a show. Let's see, what have I not read? Yeah, that was the one. I thought I thought I hadn't read that one yet, but let's see what's next. We'll just pull up another one because here we go. Counter in Texas. There we go. Let's see if we can find another one quick. We just look for a listener writes. There we go. No listener writes. This is their cabin in northern Wisconsin. And it's what he made of tonight's show. I don't know if it's tonight, but I might skip that one because I might have read it before and it finally got made into a show. At our hunting cabin. Maybe we'll read it. Let's look over it. But you can certainly hear more by listening to the actual episode on Sasquatch Chronicles. And if we can find one more. Nope, there's where we were. So, okay. So, but you can see all the other articles that are posted up here. Some of them become shows, but some of them don't. And they're great stories in either case. So here we go. October 9th, encounter in Texas. A listener writes, I was in my 7th grade, around 12 or 13 years old when I had my encounter. It must have been either in the fall or spring following the September 11th attacks, around 2001 or 2002. I can't quite recall the exact time of year. I do remember it wasn't quite winter because it wasn't cold, and it wasn't summer because it was during the school year. I found myself on a hunting trip with my father in the far northeast part of Texas. We were in a private hunting ranch owned by one of his friends, and it wasn't deer season, and we were the sole occupants of the area at that time. This one sounds familiar too. I don't know why, but it's the top one on there, unless I already did read it. We're reading it again. All right. Remember, I'm sick and getting better, but I'm sorry if this is a repeat too. It wasn't deer season, and we were the sole occupants of the area at the time. There were several vacant cabins nearby, and this was a weekend getaway and a serious hunting expedition. More of a weekend getaway than a serious hunting expedition. We were there to immerse ourselves in the outdoors and hunt varmints, as my dad would say. Or if we got lucky, a wild boar. Yeah, I definitely read this one before. Hope you enjoyed it again. The place itself was quite idyllic with goats, sheep, and a small herd of cattle. There were even several bison that I became enamored with. During one of our hikes, I stumbled upon an actual arrowhead, half buried in the dirt, and I still regret losing track of it somewhere along the way to adulthood. My father and I were hiking the property, and we were exploring and scouting potential hunting spots. I had my trusty .22 rifle, and he likely had his .30-30, although I can't recall for certain. As we walked along the game trails deep in the woods, we had encountered some wildlife, and we did see some wild pigs, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then, as I gazed around, taking in the surroundings, I happened to glance to my right, and there, perpendicular to our trail, was a clearing. It wasn't expensive, but it was a narrow, tree-lined opening into the woods, and I turned my head to the right, peering down that clearing, and to my astonishment, a massive bipedal creature strolled across it. The thing was moving parallel to us. It crossed the clearing in 1 or 2 strides, whereas it would have taken us 3 or 4. It seemed utterly indifferent to our presence. This creature was tall, taller than my father, who stands a little over 6 feet, and unlike the stereotypical Bigfoot image popularized in the media, it appeared to be more lanky. Its arms hung low and its legs swung with each step. As its long dark black hair resembled that of a well-kept long-haired dog, not matted or tangled, it moved in complete silence. As if it hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have known it was there. There were no unusual odors, only the typical scents of the woods. And here's the thing. You know, there is no doubt claims of Bigfoot creating odors. It's bad, horrible smells. Just like, make you want to vomit, kind of rancid. But I think that, they don't smell that way all the time. I'm pretty certain that whatever it is, it's a glandular response to fear or anxiety. And it's just some part of their development that they developed these glands that would just release this pungent, horrible odor that would cause things to go away. And In the past, I've talked about, I've had snakes through the years. I don't have any currently, but I've had boa constrictors and corn snake and a California king snake. And the California king snake was very unique to me because the other ones were constrictors. And the king snake is too, but it's also a very strange snake because if it wasn't very deliberate and slow in lifting it up, it would release a musk. And it was this vile smelling crap that would come out. Like it just, I don't know, took a poop on me or something. But it wasn't poop. It was this creamy, stinky stuff that I have to put the snake in the sink and wash it after every time if it happened, because it was just this horrible smelling stuff. But it was a defense mechanism. And several things in nature have similar mechanics. Obviously, skunks have a similar mechanic. But I don't know, for some reason on the genetic pool, I think Sasquatch ended up with them. And that doesn't mean that every time you see them, they're going to have that stink. They may not be stressed. There might be a reason that they would be stressed sometimes over others. Maybe there's a young one around and they're very desperately trying to protect it, or maybe a nursery around, or a nesting ground or something where there's infant ones. We don't know, and that may bring them to a much more elevated state. Just because, hey, we don't want visitors right now. It's not a good time for company, and I think that they may release it more readily then, and so. We all know of the Florida skunk apes, but they are that way. I don't think they stink all the time. They just stink if they feel so compelled to, as a matter of defense, as a passive defense, because whatever that smell is, pretty much nothing wants to get closer to it. It just, everything wants to just move away, like a skunk. Nothing smells as skunk smells like, God, where is that? Let's see if we can find it. It's just like, hell no. You hear that smell, or you come across that smell and you're like, oh God, get out of here. Let's go quick. So yeah, I don't think that the smell or absence of the smell is indicative of anything other than a stress response or just a more relaxed response. Oof. I don't think I realized how filled up my lungs had become, but they're coughing up tons of stuff. All right. So said it didn't have a smell. Where was that? It would have never known. There were no unusual odors, only typical smells of the woods. And it's possible it's only the females that do the smells. Maybe it's a part of their maternal development as opposed to males. Like, we have nipples as guys, but we'll never make milk. It doesn't. Well, if you do make milk, there's all kinds of other issues going on. But generally speaking, we're not going to have, milk glands working, producing breast milk. But we have nipples. So it's possible that there's a similar adaptation in the Sasquatch, that the females, which will be guarding and more closely monitoring the young ones, have that extra layer of defense. Whereas the males are much bigger and stronger and more aggressive. And so it's a more of a passive way to keep things away from the babies. So just a thought, but that's occurred to me as well. It's like, well, maybe it's not something that's shared by both sexes. Maybe it's just something the females have as, part of their maternal development, when they're bringing young into the world. Or it could just be through the time of rearing the young, from the birth till, even into later pregnancy. Maybe they develop these glands that, just like the breasts swell and will start producing milk. Maybe this other gland kicks into action during this time and will for the first, year of that life of that child or whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but yeah, there's so many times people see them and don't smell anything. Or there's just a kind of a different smell, but it's not pungent in any way. So just throwing some thoughts at that. That's the way my head works. I'm always thinking of this stuff. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's just, these are the millions of questions that surround these weird phenomena. So it says, I grew up watching paranormal mysteries and episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, and I recognized what it was the moment I laid eyes on it, yet I didn't feel fear. I didn't utter a word to my dad. Instead, I continued walking as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. I must have been in shock. I never caught sight of it again, but I was certain that it was still nearby. That night turned out to be one of the most unsettling experiences of my life. I believe that I'd wake up in the darkness and find that creature standing outside the curtainless window. It'd be looking in at me right across from where I was asleep. I did confide in my dad that I was afraid of Bigfoot, but never disclosed what I'd seen. To this day, I've never spoken to him about it. I think he should, though. Because what if he's had stories that he's never shared? Just because he's thinking, who's going to believe me? I can't say I slept much that night, but I remember lying there gripped by fear. I resented my father for bringing me there for the weekend, yet nothing else transpired. Well, that's not really fair. It's not like he knew there was a Bigfoot going to show up. So I don't know. I'm hesitant to read anything else at this point from Sasquatch Chronicles because I know I've read everything currently, but if I read this one, it might be another repeat. maybe this one I hadn't. Oh yeah, no, I think we did read that one, so I'm gonna skip that one, and it just became a episode now, so you can check that out. Check out Sasquatch Chronicles to catch up on all of these and more. So we're gonna go to Phantoms and Monsters now because I know there's some of these I've never done before. All right, that's about 25. So after that should be about right. I've got a few of these to go through. First one is, and this one's interesting. I think it's La Llorona, is the Hispanic belief of this woman that can transmute into an owl and back again. And it's kind of a witchy thing of some kind. But anyway, this is a claim from phantomsandmonsters.com. Again, Lon Strickler's site. You can find more information on here than you can believe. There's thousands of experience reports people submitted or Lon has transcribed, as well as Lon's published works and links to his podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. And you can find that on YouTube here as well, and definitely get subscribed. So here we go. Woman manifests from shape-shifting owl. There's some things that would be so hard to process, and it would be both amazing and terrifying at the same time to see someone transform. I think it'd be mostly amazing, though, to be honest with you, because you're watching something that's right out of legends, right out of folklore. And there it is happening in front of you. And what an amazing experience that must be to be able to see that happen. And I don't know how you process it because it's so far removed from our normal experiences outside of Hollywood. Of course, in the movies, we see things transform all the time, and that's normal. But it's a whole nother thing to see it in front of your eyes. That and not being attached to a video game or a VR of some kind. I'm sorry the chat's too little now. I really can't read it and see what you guys are saying because it's about 4 feet from my nose and it's little microfiche font. So, do owls have otherworldly connections? Are they harbingers? Many indigenous people believe that they are. This eyewitness relates their strange encounter. I received the following account. I live in El Paso, Texas, and back in 2007, I moved to the Lower Valley for about 7 months and lived in some very decent apartments. I was 16 at the time, and it was before I figured myself out. I'd get bullied a lot because I was the new kid. And because of this, I would sneak out at night and walk around my apartments to clear my mind. And I'd always witness very strange things like a girl dressed in white, flashes of a man hanging from a tree, unexplained shadows and lights, and much more. I wasn't the only one who'd witnessed this. Everyone would, even my own family. But the one thing me and my family will never forget are the owls. A week before I moved there, my best friend at the time wanted to spend the night and spend as much time together before I moved back to central El Paso, closer to Juarez and the city. Well, he ended up becoming ill and didn't want to spend the night, so I walked him home. When I came back, I laid on my couch and stared at my closed curtains. Outside there was a light, so if anyone would pass, we would see the silhouette of the figure. As I laid on my couch, I kept hearing this strange flapping of like wings of a bird, and I didn't think much of it, so I put my earphones and listened to the iPod. I continued to stare at the window simply out of boredom, and then something strange happened. I saw a huge bird fly right by my window and turned into a woman. The woman stood there as if it knew. I could see her, and as quickly as it happened, she walked away. I could hear her footsteps disappearing into the empty staircase outside my apartment. For a long time, I kept this to myself simply because I didn't want anyone to think I was crazy. 3 days before I moved out, there was an owl on the tree where my window was. But I did not want to think much about it, so I simply walked in and proceeded with my night walk. The night before I left for El Paso, it happened again, only a little bit different. I saw the same thing I did before. Only this time she didn't stand. I saw the owl turn into a dark-skinned woman and then sprint off as if she was running from something or as if she was scared or in danger. I obviously never went outside to see, mainly because I was a little kid and scared out of my mind. So about 4 months after we moved, my mother called us all into the living room for a talk. The conversations we had made me feel like I had my sanity back. I knew I was not crazy. My mother, my brother, and I had seen the same thing, only at different times and places. My brother saw it from far away, outside as if he was walking home from a friend's house. He said he saw an owl turn into a woman and run off into the field. My mother had experienced it many times as she came home from her late night shifts. Many times far away, the others only in feet. I want to know if anyone has experienced these things with owls. Does anyone know any type of folk tales and myths and stuff about these creatures? I wish to know more. Notes from Lon, it says, I've recounted my encounters with owls, especially in 2015, before and after my wife passed away. I believe that there is an obvious connection to these creatures. Are they harbingers? Many indigenous people believe that they are. Oh, I thought that's what he said before, too. Okay, well, interesting. But, the whole shape-shifting thing is fascinating. Again, you've got to take a lot on faith. You got to have faith that this person is being sincere in what they're claiming to see. You got to have faith that they're not, dealing with other issues that might disrupt their ability to actually perceive correctly what's going on around them. But if all of those are true, then whatever's going on is absolutely incredible. Now, I don't mean to come at it from an absolute skeptical point of view, but I think, again, whenever you're presenting things that are so fantastic and so incredibly far removed from the norm, you've got to come at it with a decent amount of scrutiny. Because if you don't, then you're just dealing with confirmation bias. Oh yeah, I believe it. There's so many people out there, and God bless you. I don't begrudge you the right to do it, but a lot of people will just agree with anything they're told. Yeah, for sure, I believe it, and I believe it's important to have an open mind for sure, but I also think it should be tempered at least, or challenged by logic to some degree, just because if something is being represented as truth, it should stand up to scrutiny. And if it can't, then, and granted, you're never going to give somebody enough scrutiny to grab onto, if they're not already a believer, to grab on the idea that people can transform into animals, animals could transform into people. That's incredibly far on the spectrum of what people believe is possible. So it's hard to begrudge them, their right to say, there's no way that's possible. There's no way. Because we're not used to seeing our bodies as fluid, dynamic things. We're used to seeing them as very rigid structures. You get a scratch and you painstakingly watch it over a series of a week or so become healed. Nothing just washed over it and wiped that away. Nothing Nothing extraordinary happened. It was a very deliberate act of cell replacement and repair over a period of time. And so to hear someone became a 3-foot owl into a 5.5-foot woman, it's like, well, how does that work? That's not normal. That's not usually how that works. So it's hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around it. I just think it's okay to challenge those beliefs with some questions because, again, it's an incredible leap to say a woman turns into an owl turns into a woman. Do I believe it's possible? Yeah, I do. I don't understand the mechanics of it. I don't understand so much about it that I would love to understand, and that's my logical mind getting in the way. But I still believe you have to, maybe not aggressively question isn't the right word, but that it's okay to challenge that with some logical challenges or measures. And that's okay because you're asking people to believe in something that, as we understand the world around us, isn't supposed to be possible. Now, I love the fact that we don't know what's going on around us and that therefore things like this are possible. I love that. That's wonderful, but still doesn't mean that I understand it. All right, let's go to the next one. This is Roswell Craft and Entities witness statement was received. I don't know when this was dated, though. I saw this come up. I know it was published on the 10th, October 10th. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's been a long day. Sorry about that. I don't mean to be rude. I'm really quite interested in my own show, but I really am exhausted. Let me get a drink. If you haven't heard the shows that we did with Donald Raymond Schmidt, you can find those right here on YouTube in the UFO playlist, or you can find the podcast versions if you check out our podcast. They're, I think, from season 2. Great interviews. This man was an incredibly comprehensive and invested investigator in the Roswell incident, and it was pretty insane. Just talking to the guy and hearing his take on it was absolutely sobering and really drove it home to me that this was a very real incident that was very, very, really covered up. And that's tragedy to me. But anyway, let's get into it, because why does it take a platoon or more to recover a balloon? Really? Okay. All right. Let's see. What time is it first? Yeah, we're okay. A witness statement was anonymously released to MUFON in November of 2016. It was initially posted to the CMS, but later removed, and recently I received a report, presumably from the same source. Roswell, New Mexico, 1947, July 5th. This is a report of an interview I conducted with a person at the Roswell crash site. I'm a retired engineer. I joined the staff of the then new campus of the University of California, Santa Cruz. There were several sightings of UFOs in the mountains behind the campus in 1969, reported to the university. And I was asked to interview 3 people and file a report. I could find credibility or evidence in these events, but because it was a small campus and everybody in the sciences knew what was going on, I got the unwanted reputation of someone who knew about UFOs. One day in 1970, a maintenance worker who I knew well from my church came into my lab and said he had a friend who wanted to talk to me, but didn't want to meet in a public place. I suggested we meet at my home that evening. At the time, I did not know he wanted to tell me about the UFO incident. The evening I was told by the 2 men that they had been captured by the Germans during World War II and spent a year and a half in a POW camp. They became good friends during that time and remained so after the war. The individual I interviewed was a welder by trade, and after the war was employed at the Roswell Air Force Base welding jigs and fixtures for servicing aircraft. He began by stating that the week before the 4th of July, flying saucers would fly over the base in pairs every once in a while, and he said they were circling and had a large dome on top, and they were flat on the bottom and were silent. He assumed they were some technology obtained from the Germans. He said everyone working there called them flats. He said that he had just returned from work or to work after the 4th of July holiday when a truck pulled up and an officer got out and told him to load a cutting torch and fresh tanks and that they were going out into the desert. He said that it was mid-afternoon when they arrived at the crash site. He said at the time he thought a plane had gone down. He said they had a flatbed truck loaded with wreckage, and there were soldiers on their hands and knees picking up every piece of wreckage and putting it in cloth bags. He said the bags were the kind used for sandbags. He said they drove a little further out of sight from the wreckage and came upon a second group of people standing around an intact UFO. He said the brush was knocked down, indicating the craft had skidded across the ground and came to a rest nosed into a natural berm with the backside slightly off the ground. He described the craft as about 26 feet in diameter with a large dome. He said the craft was the color of weak tea with the burnished finish. He said there were no signs of weird marks or weld marks or seams or rivets that had all the edges. He had either an inside or outside radius, and there were no visible windows or openings. And that's why he was brought there. He was told to cut an opening into the dome big enough for a man to crawl through. And by this time it was getting to be late afternoon, and there were soldiers setting up a bank of portable lights, and he said he began cutting a hole from the base of the dome. He said it was a tough alloy and slow cutting, but the material was surprisingly thin. He tried bending the metal out of his way as he was cutting, but the metal would spring back to its original shape without creasing. He finished his cut, set the metal piece aside, and looked into the cockpit for a few seconds before he was ordered off the craft. He said it was difficult to see very far into the craft because the glare of the portable lights in the cockpit was full of smoke from the cutting torch. He said he saw two beings who appeared to be dead. He said the cockpit had a strong smell of ammonia. He described the two beings as about 4 feet tall, but they were doubled up, so it was hard to say. They were wearing what he said was a skin-tight, purplish flight suits that reminded him of sequins. He described their heads as what we now refer to as grays. He said there were no visible instruments that he could see. He was ordered off the craft with his gear and returned to the U.S. Air Force Base. He said it was dark when they arrived, and he was escorted by an armed guards into a building for a debriefing. He said there were several high-ranking officers at the table along with 4 or 5 civilians in suits. He said that after he was debriefed, he was told he was not to talk about what he had seen as it was a state secret, and if he were caught divulging anything, he'd spend the rest of his life in prison, or worse. He was scared to death by the threat, and my friend and myself are the only people he ever told, and that was 23 years after the event. When he started the interview, I was told that I could not take any notes or use a recorder. He was very nervous telling the story, and he had to be reassured by my friend that I would not betray him. He said that what he had been described as the Roswell event was not true, and he wanted the truth to be told after his death. He asked that I keep what he told me a secret until after his death, which I have done. He and my friend both passed away in the late 1980s. When I heard the story, I didn't know what to think. I was not a UFO buff and had never heard of the Roswell story. My friend said this guy was the real deal, and during the interview, I never sensed anything odd about his presentation or with his mannerisms. He provided a lot more information than I have stated, but the interview was almost 50 years ago and forgotten. I think he was telling me the truth. My friend was a very honorable and trustworthy man who would knowingly support a bogus story. I think he meant not knowingly. I never saw or spoke to the welder again after this evening. I've shared my knowledge of his interview with a couple of investigators, but I think they doubted my credibility. Yeah, I don't know what exactly happened in Roswell, but I know it wasn't a weather balloon. I think we can safely say that was no weather balloon. That's just creepy. Whatever the story is there's a hell of a lot more that happened there than we'll ever be told. I mean, where's that material now? You got to think that, the developments. If you ever watch the Skinwalker Ranch, Mysteries at Skinwalker Ranch, I find that very fascinating because that is some pretty incredible things seem to be going on there. Having talked a little bit with the cast themselves and believing that they seem to be people with integrity, I think whatever's going on there, I think they are sincerely looking into it. I just don't know how much they know and how much they don't know, and how much is they do know, but they're posturing like they don't know. I don't know. That's the part that I'm not sure of. But I think what you see on the shows is may sincerely be real. I know that sounds like a tough thing to believe because, we've often seen shows that embellish, that take extreme liberties with situations and draw these huge narratives. But, they seem very sincere. These guys, and I don't know the people that are producing the show. I don't know the whole network end of it. I just have talked to the people that are on the show, and they're very adamant that what they're experiencing is very sincerely real and happening. And it seems to be, in my opinion, not that I'm any kind of expert whatsoever, but it's either extraordinarily extraterrestrial activity, or it's extraordinarily multidimensional activity, or it's some kind of measure of both. I don't know. I have a feeling that space and dimensions are not all that different. So for something to be from another galaxy or the other end of the galaxy, maybe that would appear to us like a dimensional kind of thing. That maybe it's a heartbeat away, even though it's way over there. Because when you look at things like quantum entanglement, I don't know how I'm going to try to justify this, but if you were able to split apart an atom and brought these two pieces of the atom to opposite ends of the universe, if you moved one, the object of the atom that was on the other end of the universe in absolute real time with the first one would move in absolute unity together, even though they were separated by an entire universe in between. So that would imply, or at least seem to suggest, that space isn't what we think it is. It isn't quite what we think it is, because if it was, if you really had two particles of an atom that were millions of light years removed from each other, then there's no way that one could move and the other one would move, because it would have to be taking a shortcut somehow through the fabric of what we understand as space. So is that dimensional? Is that what kind of a quantum is? The quantum dimension I don't know. But anyway, whatever's going on at Skinwalker seems very intelligent, seems very poignant, and seems very ancient too. It seems like it's very old. Like whatever it is, it's not something that just got here. It's something that was brought here maybe millennia ago and has sat in the soils of the Uinta Basin and continues to sit there. And maybe it just plays with people. Maybe it's bored. I don't know. It's very, very, very strange. All right, this one I think was shorter, wasn't it? Not too bad. We're going to read this one. This one's a different one than what I've seen before. I don't know if this is a dog man or what this one is, but this is the next one. From Phantoms and Monsters, hiker encounters massive upright dog creature in the Great Smoky Mountains. The Smokies, Tennessee, Kentucky. Lots going on up there. Merkel's up at the Smokies area now. That explains a lot, actually. All right. So let's check out this story. It says, a man was camping and hiking in the Great Smoky Mountains on the second day. He encountered a massive upright cryptid canine while walking on the trail. Though shocked, he lived to tell his tale. Interesting. This took place in western North Carolina in July 2021. The weekend this happened, I headed to an area in the vicinity of the Great Smoky Mountains near Waynesville in Haywood County for a solo camping trip. At that time in my life, I needed to be alone to get away and just clear my head. After being cooped up for the last 2 years or so, I drove there on a Friday night and had an uneventful first night setting up camp, and then I hit the sack early, got up around 5:30 a.m. the next morning, and didn't waste any time heading out since I wanted to beat most of the midday summer heat. Well, all was good for a while until I was hiking up a steep hill. I was huffing and puffing. When I stopped to catch my breath, I saw a dog way off in the distance, and at first it didn't even really register with me, but it was coming my way, and as it got closer, I became aware of how much larger it was than any dogs that I run into. And, that any dogs usually are. And was moving along using only its back legs. It had grayish brown fur and was massive, easily the size of a bear. I was totally confused because I realized that it was upright. I looked around to see if anyone else was on the trail, but it was just me and this thing on the mountain trail in the middle of nowhere. The fear started to set in as I began to fully understand the seriousness of this situation. I didn't know what the creature was, and I had no idea if it would attack me. Thoughts suddenly started creeping into my mind of all the things that might possibly happen, but I stood my ground and I didn't flinch, hoping that if I didn't make any movement, it would just go away. It was soon within 100 feet of me, but then it stopped. It stared at me with its piercing eyes, and I swear it was talking to me. I just knew it could sense my fear and confusion. The creature didn't seem angry, just curious, like the way a dog would come running up to you frantically and then just stop and look at you and then just turn around and walk away, but it didn't retreat. Then it left the trail and headed out where I soon lost sight of it. At that point, I smelled the odor of sulfur, so strong that I felt the urge to retch right there on the trail. I started to feel faint, so I sat down on a nearby log to catch my breath. As I sat there, I tried to make sense of what had just happened. I was dizzy and disoriented, and I just kept thinking about the dog creature. It had just walked up to me and looked at me like it knew what I was thinking. This powerfully built creature could have easily killed me, and yet it didn't even seem at all like it wanted to do that. I think it just wanted to see me up close and check me out. Even though I can't remember every second of the encounter, I still can't get it out of my head. It comes back to me in waves like flashbacks. The entire encounter probably only lasted a minute or two, but looking back on it, it felt like it happened in slow motion, taking forever. In some ways, I even find myself doubting that it happened. I took a huge drink of water. I was skeptical of my own eyes and thought maybe I had hallucinated the encounter due to dehydration. After that, I turned around and headed back to my campsite, fixed something to eat, and hung out a bit longer, but eventually I decided not to stay another night, so I packed it up and headed back home. I still can't say for certain what the creature was. I know that I'm still alive to tell the tale, which means it wasn't angry. I will say that my funk ended after that incident, and I have a totally different view of life. Yeah, it's funny how much you can appreciate your life and appreciate the fact that you still have one when you've come face to face with something that could have ended it. It could have, but chose not to. So, oh, somebody joined. Existors. Wave to say hi. There you go. Good to see someone join the Discord. I appreciate it. Excellent. But I don't know about you guys, but I think this has been a presentation of the Paranormal Portal. I think it was a good presentation for the most part, other than rereading about 3 stories from Sasquatch Chronicles blog because I'm running on fumes and I'm exhausted. But other than that, if you can overlook that, put that over there, and just appreciate that we got to come together and talk about the paranormal. My voice, although scratchy, is held together much better. So I think we can safely assume that I'm on the mend, which is always a good thing. Not that I need pity or sadness or, but an attaboy once in a while is nice. All right, that's about all I got for you guys because I can't think of anything else I want to say or do other than quit sweating because I'm sweating profusely right now, which is another sign of healing. And just relax. I want to kick my feet up and just stare at something and be stupid for a while. Well, more stupid than I already am. But all right, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Enjoy it. Spend it in the company of those you love and embrace the days. Embrace the days. Enjoy the bit of warmth that's left before we're all plunged into a white, frosty hell for 6 months. And then we'll reemerge and be happy once again. No, I'm trying to come at this whole winter thing with a little more optimism, but it's still really tough for me. Not that previous statement probably sold that very well, but yeah, I just don't like winter anymore. I don't want to be cold anymore. I like to be warm and in shorts and t-shirts and, just living the good life. But anyway, enough of me. Enough of my whining. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And of course, we'll be back Wednesday with more of the Paranormal Portal. Stay tuned for Monday. We got another new podcast coming out. But if you missed it, the last 2 weeks, we've had two part podcast. So the last 2 weeks has been like 4 new podcasts. First was Barry from where was he? New York, Western New York. And I talked to Barry and had 2 great episodes with him. And then the next week we talked to Scott from Kentucky, and Scott and I had a great conversation. Both those were a lot of fun. So if you haven't heard those, go check them out. You can certainly check them out on our YouTube channel or check them out on any of the podcasting platforms out there. Pandora, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, Google Play, any of them, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you find podcasts, support the show. And if you're on a platform that allows you to leave comments and you like the show, please leave a good comment or a rating or review. That would help out a bunch. There's some haters out there that like to plug stupid reviews in like, oh, the sound is terrible. It's like, really? What? I don't understand. With criticisms that aren't really warranted, but I think, they may just do it because they want to wreck the love. They want to wreck the take us down a notch or whatever, and that's fine. That's kind of part of the game, I guess. But if you love the show, I'd love your positive review. So anyway, that's all I got for you. I'm out of gas. I'm out of steam. I'm just barely holding my voice together now. So that's going to do it. But love you all. Be good. Be kind. Be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out.
My name is Ella.
Nope, not talking to you, Ella.
I'm 10 years old.
We're done. You're
I'm
done.
one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus.
Ella, you're supposed to be done. There we go. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll see you on Wednesday if you're here. Don will be here. Don and I had a great time last night. Although we were both exhausted, so was Charles. Charles had done another investigation before getting there as well. So we all 3 of us were working on fumes, but still some cool activity happened. We'll I don't know, maybe we'll get into that a little bit on Wednesday, but that's all I got for you, but everybody. But love you, and until next time, we'll see you. Just know that I'm sitting here thinking of you. And remember, if any of you find those videos, you think it might be good for the trail cam terrorists, send them over. Send them to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. send links, whatever. It doesn't matter. But thank you for your help on that. That would be wonderful. So anyway, that's it. I'm done. That's it. That's all I got. Over. That's it. Are you still here? Ferris Bueller. All right. Anyway, good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.